And we are live. Hey guys, we're here with Alex Lichliter. I think I got that right. Awesome. He's joining us from, I didn't even ask you, whereabouts are you hailing from tonight?
Yeah, so I live in Maryland. So I live in a small town called Sykesville, Maryland.
Nice. So I guess for those who live under a rock and don't know who you are, give us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do as far as racing goes, and we'll get things started from there.
Sure. My name is Alex Lichliter. I'm a Formula Drift prospect driver. I earned my license in 2020 from U.S. Drift as a shootout, and I've been drifting in Formula Drift 3 completed years. About to start my 4th year this year in 2024.
Nice. So you say that you've got your license. What exactly do you mean by that? So just not anybody can come out and run with you guys?
Yeah, so if you want to become a Formula Drift driver yourself, you just have to compete in a Pro-Am series event that will allow you to earn your license at the end of the series, at the end of the year.
Okay, and there's lots of guys running for that. I mean, drifting seems to be coming up the ranks in popularity, so I imagine there's quite a bit of competition out there from, I don't know, how long ago did you start?
Let's see. I started drifting on track in 2010. Back when 240s were actually like $500 or $600. uh, Back then, like if you could like link a drift, you were like the coolest guy out there. We were all just like cutting knuckles and rewelding them, and getting some Megan in there, tie rods that were extended. No, that was pretty much it. But I didn't actually get like I did it more as a hobby for a long time. It wasn't until about 2018 where I was like, you know what, I think it would be cool to actually kind of go into the competition mode and see if I could potentially earn my spot into Formula Drift. So once I got my mind focused, it only took me 2 years. So that was nice.
Wow, that to me that sounds like it's pretty quick. You must have be good at your craft, I would say, if that's the case, if you run through it that fast. So, I guess as far as drifting goes and setting up cars and all the rest of that, what what does it take to have a car set up? Like, is it just you jump onto it in the shop and start cutting and chopping, or do you take it to a shop and have somebody else do the work for you?
Yeah. Well, drifting's changed a lot since I've started. I think it was much more obtainable for the average person to kind of take their pro-am level car and spruce it up a bit to be able to make it an AFD. But in today's times, you really kind of need what back then used to be like a Pro 1 car available to you here in Pro 2 in order to be, or Pro Spec in order to be competitive. So it's just moving along with the times and the changes. And as long as you're following that competition mindset and building the car to compete with the pack, you should be just fine.
So, what do you run for a car? What do you have for power plant in there? And give us all the goods on what you're running out there.
Of course. So I run the 86 chassis, the FRS BRZ platform. I am married to that car. I bought it brand new off the showroom floor the year it came out in 2013. Uh,
Nice.
I think I had like 111 miles on it or something like that. I truly believed it would be the next 240 SX, and I wanted to be ahead of the curve. So I did probably the dumbest thing I could, and I took out a loan and I bought a brand new. And 13 days later, I took it to the local drift event at Summit Point Raceway in West Virginia, and I was probably one of the first couple people to ever actually like buy an FRS and then go out on track and drift one, completely stock. So it was awesome. It was so cool. These things allowed me to be a little bit more competitive and a little bit more successful with obtaining sponsorships, having a newer car. Sponsors were excited to advertise or put their logo on or represent. So as much as a financial burden it was originally, I think I'm still happy with my decision long term.
I
Um,
would say so. I mean, if you have success like you have right now, I would say that you probably made the right call there.
yeah, I think that now that I own the car and I've gotten to know that car like the back of my hand, I think there are some things that limit that chassis in comparison to some of my competitors and what they drive. But at the end of the day, we all have these insane horsepower motors with dog box quick change rear ends. I mean, it's just the body. It's a little bit different now. Suspension linkage and coilover lengths and certain things like that, and angle kits are really the only things that separates us apart at this point. But to go into what my car is, it is a 2014 Scion FRS, or formerly, now that Scion's closed their doors. So we roll with the Toyota GT86 logo, running the GT86 front bumper. It does have a supercharged LS platform motor in it, with a 4-speed dog box transmission. And it has always had the factory rear differential until right now. Right now, it is currently getting a quick change being built and manufactured for my chassis. So hopefully that will help me be a little bit more competitive for the 2024 season.
Excellent. So you guys changing gear sets quite a bit then, depending on what track you're on, or how does that?
Yeah, so I've had an array of factory differentials with different gear ratios in them, and we do what we can with what we have at those tracks, with those limited amount of gear sets that we have. But I spent all of 2023 pretending that I had a quick change, and I was doing the telemetry and tracking the car on the track through the GPS and learning trying to calculate the wheel speed and just all those things that it would take to actually formulate and work with a quick change rear end, so that when I actually did have one, I wouldn't just be like, all right, I got one, what do I do with it now?
Learn the game before you get into it.
Able to be very user friendly for me for this season.
Excellent. So you said you have an LS in there. Why run with the LS? Is that just because everybody else does, or that's just what seems to fit best for you and your car?
Yeah, so I originally I wanted a 2J, man. There's nothing like it. The sounds of the
Right.
it's just sick. The obviously the Toyota chassis, having a Toyota motor in there, it's just, I mean, why would I put anything else in, right? Then I started calculating like how much it would cost to put a 2JZ in my FRS, and remember I did this swap way back early in, when nobody else was doing this stuff yet, and I was just like, yep, can't afford that. We gotta find another way to make power. But all the old guys around town were like, man, you need to put one of them V8s in there, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
my boy figured that one out. He's got a 300ZX and cooked the VG that was in there, blew a couple of head gaskets, and he bought a twin turbo kit for it, and then started doing a little bit more research. And it's like, Dad, that thing's going to cost like $8,000 to build, and at a 15-year-old's wages, it's like, yeah, maybe you should think about something else. So we had built just a little 5-liter V8 for the Fox body drift car that we've got here. He's like, do you think we could put one of those in there? Yeah, I think you could probably afford that one to put in there and just save that engine for later on down the road. So that's what he's in the middle of doing, is, well, between that and stock cars. So a little here, a little there, but yeah. So you said you were talking about sponsors. Who are your sponsors? I want to make sure we give shout out to those guys, because anybody that's involved in racing knows without those guys we don't get to play. So who do you got your back there?
I'm very fortunate. I currently ended this 2023 season with 16 sponsors,
Nice.
And a few more since the off season here. So we're going to be going in pretty strong for 2024. But the big ones that need to be mentioned are Nonstop Tuning. That's the big logo. That's the title sponsor on the side of the car. Nonstop Tuning is a parts manufacturer and distributor out of California. Their bread and butter is the lightweight pulleys and adjustable cam gears and stuff like that. But they've gone on to sell, handbrakes, steering wheels, shift knobs, lug nuts, a lot of like the tuner stuff. So I have all of their products on my car. I love showing them off at all the events. The second largest sponsor, I would say, would be TDMI. So we all know what JDM is, but if you just can imagine what TDM is, it's Taiwan's trying to get in the game. So it's a Taiwan domestic markets. There's import industry. They already make over 60% of JDM parts. They decided to cut JDM out and start making their own stuff. So
that only makes sense. Yeah.
They make big brake kits, some coilover suspension stuff. So big partner in my program. I specifically run their big brake kits because formerly, prior to TDMI, I have a heavy partnership with Fortune Auto. So Fortune Auto is my coilover suspension company. They are a huge, huge part of my program. We love everybody over there at Fortune. They're always willing and able to make things happen for me. So love those guys. And then I would say finally, it really ramped up my relationship with True Focus Fabs. I think anybody who has a bash bar on their car knows who they are if they don't already own their products. They also make some reservoirs and uh, some other things that you can get for your car too. So those are the big players going into 2023 or 2020.
Excellent. In 24. Yeah, I guess. Cool. 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 So, I mean, it sounds like you've been in the drift game for a well, basically since the start of it in North America anyway, I would guess. And what have you always been a car guy? You're one of us little guys on the big wheel just trying to wrap things around as you go, or what got you into cars?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was a big car guy once I started like getting my license. I never had like a family. It's not like my dad was a mechanic or any of those things. So, it wasn't until like we all got the same tuner magazines, right? Like the import tuner and the modified mag, right? When I was like 16 years old, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I moved out when I was about 17 years old, and I needed to get a job. And since I thought cars were cool, I was like, man, I'm gonna be a mechanic. Didn't know anything about anything. Didn't even know how to change oil in my own car, honestly. And it took a while for me to get a job as a oil change lube tech, but I did. I got hired as that, and did start doing some tires, and realized I didn't want to spend the rest of my life changing tires and oil. So I moved up to actual technician, where I got to do brakes and suspension, steering, and all those things, and ended up becoming an ASC certified technician. And I maintained my employment in the automotive industry for about 7 years. But after 7 years, not to get too crazy about it, but I decided to no longer be a mechanic, and I became a flight attendant at Southwest Airlines. So I've been
Oh,
working
cool.
as a flight attendant for over a decade, and I am still currently and actively employed there. I've reduced my hours significantly due to my seniority and FD taking precedence. But I am still employed there, and I'm able to use the benefits to get my teammates to the events and do any kind of marketing or promotional things with my sponsors in different geographic areas. And I'm happy to continue my employment with Southwest on the side as a little thing over here while I do this big racing thing over here.
Yeah. So does the racing thing pay the bills then, or is it still kind of just breaking even sort of deal yet?
Yeah, so I used to spend large amounts of money to be able to race. Uh, yeah, I used to spend a lot of money to race, and I don't want to do that anymore. So that's very nice. I'm also in
Nice.
a unique place in life as I manifested these things to no longer have any debt. So, not having a lot of debt doesn't require me to require a whole lot to live. So, if these partners of mine that continue to work with me throughout my program enable me to be able to drift, then it's just nice to be able to live life and go drift.
That's the name of the game, eh? Just
Yeah.
kind of living the dream that's so many other guys have right there. You got her figured out for sure. That's so awesome.
I don't have all the answers, but
Well, hey, yeah.
I'm
In my books, you're successful right now. You've got a goal and you're working towards it.
yeah.
Sounds like you're well on your way. Cool. Uh so who would you say would be your biggest influence in life or in racing in general, or like who are you chasing? I mean, you guys are kind of front runners as far as the drift world goes, but did any other racers influence you along the way?
Of course. I mean, back from the very first day, I was a spectator in Formula Drift in 2007. Okay, so Formula Drift was only a few years old, They were racing actually near my hometown track here out in Summit Point Raceway in West Virginia, and that's where Formula Drift was that year, where I saw them. And I just remember seeing drifting in competition format for the first time ever, and I was like, I've got to do this. This is like the craziest thing. I've never seen anything like this. It was insane. So, of course, some of the bigger players that have been in the game for over 20 years have always been a role model to me. But now that I'm in Formula Drift and realize that uh, we all deserved and earned our right to be here, I don't get intimidated by anybody that I might have to compete against. There are definitely some people I look up to, but at the same time, it's like, well, we're all kind of here together. So it's just nice to be on that level, if you will. I know I'm a pro spec driver, and it does technically set me in a different bracket than the pro drivers. But once you're in FD, you can honestly just go up to anybody and just really talk to them, and they'll talk your ear off. So it's a good crowd. I mean, the drifting community has always been one that's very unique, and I think that's why a lot of us do what we do here.
I found the same, reaching out to guys, seeing if they want to come to the podcast, or, when we were starting to set up the Fox just to go out and play here, not really knowing much about it, I'd reach out to drift guys, and pretty much everybody always got back. I mean, if they couldn't answer the question or chat about it right then, they're like, I'm really busy right now or whatever. But it was never left hanging just with a nothing there, right? Even or left unread or anything. So yeah, you guys are great down to earth guys that run in drift world. It seems like the fame hasn't gone to everybody's head.
Yeah.
Here. So you get into some of them other guys where it's NASCAR, like the big top end stock car guys. I mean, it's like almost like they don't have the time of day for the average guy. But I'm not finding that with the drift guys. It's really, really cool that you guys are willing to chat and talk and give advice and all the rest of that stuff there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you told us about the car that you race. What would or what do you drive as just your regular day-to-day driver up and down the road?
I was in the right place at the right time, and I bought a 09 Honda Fit for about $100.
Oh, the price is right for sure.
40-some miles to the gallon. It's 5-speed, and I'm good.
Yeah.
All like the extra funding I did have into a good tow rig, so I do have I have a 2016 Ford F-250 Super Duty diesel, and that's what you use to pull the pig around.
Yeah. So you drag your car all over the place on your own. You don't have a driver or anything for it. You're still the guy behind the wheel and moving from one spot to the next.
I mean, obviously, I'm the team owner and also team driver of my program, but my team, including myself, consists of 8 people. And amongst those 8 people, we teamwork in order to get the car where it needs to go. Most of the times, typically, I will be in the vehicle with the guys in order to, be one of the guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are certain scenarios where I fly in and the car's there, or vice versa. I'll take the car out there and fly the guys in. It just really depends on what's happening. Everybody has different situations. So.
Yeah. So you got 8 guys on your team. Are those guys that you grew up with, or just guys you kind of picked up along the way, or how did that work building the team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So obviously at its conception early on when we were doing Pro-Am, it was very close friends from school. Like I said, I grew up in a small town, so I went to elementary, middle, and high school with these guys, and a lot of them have carried me into where we are today. But not everything can last forever, and the team has exchanged some hands here and there with some teammates, and we also might have maximized some capabilities out of some previous teammates. So as the driver evolves, the car evolves, the series evolves, so does the team. And that's where additional people come in, and maybe some more experienced hands and certain things like that. So we have a spotter, a couple mechanics, crew chief, general, just crew support in general, anything that they can do to help out when there's an extra hand that needs. Also have a media team which I have 3 guys: a videographer, photographer, and a social media analyst.
Oh, nice.
So it's a big moving part now. It's a business, so it's managing your team and making sure everybody can handle what needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Racing's a business, and you start getting into sponsors and all the rest of that stuff, making sure that they're getting their return on their investments and everything else. In that point, right? It's more than just stepping on the gas pedal and making sure the car goes in the right direction. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, we're figuring that one out here. My again, back to my son. He's a couple years into stock car racing and trying to land some other sponsors for him and help him move up to the next level. And yeah, it's like, okay, there's a lot more to it than a guy thinks. So, just building the car is one thing, and then making sure you got engagement for the fans and all the rest of that stuff, and just trying to, have things just a little bit different than somebody else so you stand out, and then the sponsors want to come to you and help him move up to the next level. So, so you said you have a couple of mechanics. Are you involved in pulling wrenches too, or are you more kind of behind the scenes, like the team captain sort of thing, and you leave the mechanics do their thing, or does everybody jump in and help out there?
Yeah, so we'll have our roles, as I said. So at the actual FD events, I try to be hands off, right? These mechanics, they teamwork together. They've gotten to know the car well, and obviously, if I have any long-term experience knowledge with the chassis specifically, I'm happy to help. But to help keep my mindset focused on just driving when I'm at the events, these guys are doing the nut and bolt checks, refueling the car, changing the tires, any kind of errors that would come up in racing. Mechanically speaking, they are the go-to guys, and they should be. However, in between all the rounds, given my mechanical background, I am the guy who maintains and services the car in between the rounds. So I'm still very hands-on, but in the face of the public and probably in the professional series league, it appears that I'm only just driving.
No, and that you're right, like you say, everybody's got a role to play and got to do your thing. So what you're saying is you're the guy that's changing the rear diff out to the quick change in the off season here.
Yeah. Always very hands-on in the off season. Spent a lot of time. I would honestly say that's probably my busiest time. I completed 2023 with doing 41 events out of 52 weeks.
Wow.
So I was at the racetrack just about every weekend. But the few months that I was not at a racetrack, night and day, 8 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night in the garage, building this thing. You put this angle kit on, it doesn't work with these coilovers. Then you got to figure that out. You put this angle kit on and realize you have to convert this to that, or you got to do all these things, right?
Hack and chop and make things fit and work. Yeah.
Sure, when I put this winners in, I'll find out it doesn't work with this and it doesn't work with that, and I gotta cut this, and yeah.
So when you're at a competition, how long do your tires last? Like with I know you guys aren't well, you're pro spec, you're not the pro drift guys. Do you get like 5 runs out of a set of tires, or do you get a whole weekend? Or
So if you build your car correctly, the average driver should be getting the most out of their tires, right? We're limited by 255, 35, 18. And comparatively to other tire sizes that are out there, it's quite a smaller tire. So it's in our best interest to make that tire work the best it can for the competition battle, which would be 2 laps. If you are getting, 5 or 6 laps out of a set of tires, I think you are probably not you're probably not with the level of driving that you need to be at right now, currently. That might have been
right, eh?
That might have been a thing like 5 years ago. That's no longer a thing. A set of tires typically lasts me about 56 seconds. And that's because each lap in Formula Drift is about 23 seconds long.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters except for those 23 seconds. You can spend all day practicing. You can do whatever you want. You can play on your sim. you can do 20 practice laps, but at the end of the day, that car has to work for those 23 seconds during qualifying.
Yeah.
If it everything else doesn't matter.
So it's all like how much? What do you run for horsepower in your LS?
Unfortunately, I am the lowest horsepower car in Formula Drift currently. That puts me at 600 horsepower. 680.
At the lowest horsepower.
Yep. So I have to drive my car 10 out of 10 in order to be able to do what some of my competitors might be able to do 7 out of 10, you know? I have to run a perfect line. I have to be full throttle. Any blimp or anything like that, you can see it aggressively in my chassis as opposed to others.
But if you know what you got and you know what you got to do, I mean, that's part of the game. You know, like if you're, well, I assume if you're overpowered, then you're out of control too. If you can't handle it too, right?
Right. So if I have 600 horsepower, right? Well, what if I, boom, just doubled it? Let's say tomorrow I have 1200 horsepower. Well, is that 255 going to last 2 laps? I don't really know how that's possible mathematically. I mean, if I can only get 2 laps out of a set of tires with a 600 horsepower car, what the heck am I going to get out for a 1200 horsepower car?
Right? Yeah. Running one of them RTR like Genova or however you say his name. I think those guys are up in the 1200
right
horsepower range there, right?
Tire though, they don't run a 255, so
that's fair. Yeah,
I think that's the way that the pro spec class is trying to limit horsepower by limiting the tire size, because everyone would lie about horsepower, right? If they said, oh, nobody's car could make more than 650 horsepower, people would,
it's racing. That's part of it.
right? Any motorsport out there, there's always people looking for that extra competitive advantage. So by limiting the tire size, I think is their best way of minimizing horsepower.
It's easy to check, right?
Yeah.
Confirm and everything else there. Yeah, for sure. Talked about your daily driver. What would be your ultimate car? Tomorrow, money was an object. What would you go and pick up for a driver and for a drift car if you wanted to change the drift car?
Okay, sure. Well, I'm a big 90s fan. The Mazda RX-7, the FD is the most gorgeous car of its class, in my opinion. So I would love to own one of those, but we all know how the reliability is there, so it would be tough to take out, I guess, on a sunny day. But I drive cars, so I don't really know. It'd be weird to have a car I didn't drive. So daily driven, yeah, I don't know. But also, I can't stand like caring about my car, like my daily driver, so much that I like park it over here or get all mad if there's like a little, rock chip or scratch on the paint. Like that blows me. That makes my head go bananas. I can't stand it. So I much rather just drive that's just hoopty. Just don't even care. But drifting, yeah. If I could build like any drift car for fun. The Formula Drift rulebook is literally written around the S14 chassis.
That's why everybody's running them.
It's if you want the most competitive advantage in the series, or just in drifting as a whole, get an S14. They are the best drift cars, hands down, and that's why everybody runs them. And I would just put an LS3 in it. It wouldn't do anything. Just buy one, use off whatever, Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay. You just drop it right on in, be done.
And just roll with that.
It will last forever. Don't open it. You let the magic out if you do
that. So, what about what does your family think of you being a professional driver? Is there anybody that kind of rolled their eyes when you said that you were gonna do that and thought you were a little bit crazy, or?
Yeah, so coming from a family that's not into cars, and I told them I did this drifting thing. They're like, oh, yeah, whatever. He does these, he does some things with his friends on the weekends every now and then. But obviously, once I got more competitive and they saw the level of enthusiasm and the motivation I had and the determination, And then when I finally actually obtained my license and started competing in a professional motorsport, all of a sudden I'm this star athlete that the family knows about now. And now they come to the events, and I'm happy to have, mom and brothers and all the families and uncles and stuff and dad come to the events. But prior to FD level, it was just kind of, oh yeah, go do your thing with your friends. So I'm slightly envious of some of the teams that I've seen that, dad was a mechanic, obviously kid's the driver in the series, and they literally spent every night in the garage together building this amazing car. I did the best that I could with the knowledge that I have, but some of these builds that I've seen come out, I'm just like, man, you guys are awesome.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, right? You do what you can with what you got, and the rest will have to wait. I would say that you're doing pretty okay for yourself if you're running at the level that you're running at there.
Yeah,
That's pretty
no,
awesome.
life's good over here. No problems.
Yeah. So, other than driving cars, do you do any other sports or anything? Are you, or just professional behind the wheel, laser focus?
Yeah, so between spending so much time at racetracks, right, and also a little bit of flight attending in between, I travel a lot, like a lot, more than a lot of people do. Um, so when I do get small segments to be at home, it's very nice to be at home. And obviously those times are spent working on the car and getting ready for the next race or whatever upgrades or whatever. But it never stops, man. It's always go go go. Anybody who wants to be in Formula Drift, or anyone who wants to become a Formula Drift driver, they ask me what does it take? And I say, it takes everything. And they're like, yeah, but how much money? And I said, all. And then
All of it, and then some.
you know, do I still work my normal job and I'll just race on the weekends? I'm like, no, it takes everything. And I don't think I understand that. I've literally watched guys sell their house to buy an RV,
Wow.
and relationships fail and go into a huge stacks and piles of debt, just trying to be self-funded, proprietary throughout their season. It takes everything. It literally takes everything.
You're not the first guy that I've heard say that. Anybody that wants to run motorsport at the top level, that's what it is. It's an obsession, is what it becomes, and that has to be the only thing that exists. So
That's it. And
yeah,
even when I'm not racing, I have to be talking about racing. I have to be marketing my brand. And yeah, check out. I was just at the blah 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 this weekend. Check out this sweet video I posted. Hit subscribe. Whatever. It's constant marketing. It's advertising for your sponsors, getting the ROI. All these things have to be done in order to continue to do what we do.
yeah. So how do you look after yourself then? Are you one of these fitness or uh like exercise guys, and you're only eating certain things and looking after your body that way, or do you just young enough where you don't need to worry about that and just jump in and go?
This is a unique question as I'm transitioning my diet in my life currently. I've been exploring a plant-based diet for about 6 months. I no longer eat meat. That's the
Oh,
first
nice.
thing that is new, and I'm sure it's going to be very challenging at a racetrack environment for the
Oh,
24 season.
yeah.
But I saw a documentary on Netflix about pertaining specifically just to athletes that were plant-based, whether they were Olympian bicyclists or the world's strongest man, or there was even a race car driver on there. And all of these people just seem to have just this little extra level of competition that their competitors could not. And the series was supposed to be talking about it's because of what they put in their mouth. So if there's even a 1% chance that I can be better against someone in the track, then that's something I need to actually be doing. Maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not the right thing, maybe it's all hocus pocus, right? But I can't ignore it. Not with my competitive mindset. I have to explore this and see it through for the year. So I will continue at this moment of time to continue to be plant based.
Are you finding any changes so far, like mental clarity or? just overall feeling better, or?
I could go into the list of the benefits that I've found so far. There are not very many negative benefits. The only negative the only negative things I've found so far are convenience or heated conversations amongst some of my peers. But at the end of the day, it's only been good things so far. And the only person in all of Formula Drift, pro and pro spec, who is the only meatless person, is Matt Field.
Really?
And he is one of the top drivers. So if there's just a chance I can move up from here to here because of what goes in right here,
Yeah.
why not?
Hey, if it's not causing any negative effects, then obviously something's going right with it, right?
We'll see what happens. It's a very new thing. So I'm not an expert about it, but there could be some really nice opportunities that unfold for me from it. So if that happens, I'm happy to explore it.
Yeah. Get rid of the beer and beef jerky, and there's so many guys that's their diet when they're in the shop working on the cars, and it's like, holy man, like that's whatever here and there, but that's so hard on the guy's body when you're doing that. It just beats you up. You know, the cars are hard enough on you as it is. You got to try and look after yourself.
Yeah, it can be tough.
Yeah. And you look at all the pro guys, like the F1 guys and NASCAR and all of them, the training regimens that they run in is I mean, any world class athlete, same damn thing right there, and they're doing the same thing. So obviously it works. It's necessary, right?
Yeah.
What else was I gonna ask you about? Talk about your ultimate car, who works on the cars. Um your greatest fan. Who's your greatest fan? Do you have someone that's always cheering for you?
I'm very fortunate to have a group of people I've come across along the way who end up being lifelong fans. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in a little local band or, you're a full blown, AC/DC or something. You always have a group of people that always stick by. So I'm very fortunate. Those people seem to appear at the correct time, which is really important. So I'm really happy to have the fan base that I have, and all of my fan base honestly is very organic. I look at the social media followings, and I try to sift through maybe some of the things I don't need to see anymore, but every time I go to try to sift through, I'm like, wait, I actually know this person. I don't want to unfollow this person. I remember I met this person, at a drift event 7 years ago, and we all shotgun beers or something, and there's no way I go, so that's my answer.
No, that's cool, man. Like you connect with people like that, and then they follow you, you follow them along the way, and they get to see your journey right from start and right to where you end up getting to. I would
Yeah.
fully expect to see in the pro drift, not prospect. That's where you're at right now, but in pro drifts series. So in that aspect, is there only so many spots there, or once you get your license, then you're in and you can qualify for the weekend, and as long as you qualify, then you're in, or how does that all work out?
So this has changed hands several times. So there was a time of day where Pro 2, or what is now called as Pro Spec, couldn't get enough drivers. They only had, 15, 20, 22 drivers in the series. So all the Formula Drift Pro Am divisions started handing out licenses left and right. They were just trying to get people, right? I mean, they were giving out, I don't know the exact number, but easily 20 licenses. I mean, and a lot of these people just wouldn't come in. Or the rule at the time was your license was validated for a couple years, so they would spend some time building a car and then come back a couple years later and try to get back in. And what this caused was a surplus of people who now are eligible to be drivers. And now they went from 20 drivers to 40 drivers, and they're like, Formula Drift was just like, oh, yeah, like we can no longer do Orlando as a pro and prospect round because we just don't have enough places to park these trucks and trailers with these race cars. So Formula Drift quickly realized that they need to stop handing out licenses as much as they were, and also accommodate to the pro and prospect rounds in order to have enough real estate, enough space to host all of us there. So I think if it was up to Formula Drift, they would probably only have 40 drivers in pro and 40 drivers in pro spec. I think that would be a very happy number for them. The approved drivers list that comes out every year seems to be a little bit extra padded just because it seems like a couple people do drop off last minute or whatever have you, or maybe they do a round or two and disappear, who knows. But if they continue to increase the driver count, it still doesn't change. It's a top 32. So you could have 50 drivers in a pro spec division, and all 50 drivers would have to qualify, but only the top 32 are going to make it in the show.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Formula Drift has no, they're not interested in creating a top 64 or anything like that. They're very happy with their top 32. And it seems to work fine. So I'm happy to out-qualify competitors and make it into the top 32.
So for the people watching or listening that have never seen or don't totally understand how a drift competition works, just explain. So you start with 32 drivers, and then it's you have a competition, you just knock each other out as you work along, just a bracket series sort of basically.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people are a little bit more affiliated with like March Madness basketball. You have the bracket. It's you have all the teams on this side, and they play a game, and then they move up, and then they move up, and eventually it's the final four, and then you have your podium drivers. So it's the same way. That's why that 23-second rule is really important.
Exactly.
23 seconds, you had all these guys come out to help maintain your car. You spend all these money on tires. You have all these sponsors you're representing. And if you don't perform correctly in those 23 seconds, the show doesn't happen for you.
Yeah.
And even once you get in, now you have to maintain that, right? It's a very, very challenging sport.
It's super exciting to watch. It's, I don't know how much, just throw it on YouTube and watch, races from before or just ones that just happened and whatever else. Don't really have a whole lot of time to spend in front of the TV to begin with, but when there's a chance to watch some highlights and everything else there. So it's super exciting. And you see that big cloud of smoke and then a car just emerge from it, the chase car. And yeah, it's pretty wild.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah. So I guess while we're talking about the actual racing, how does that work? How do you advance from this part of the bracket up to the next one for guys that don't understand how that works? It's not just whoever drives the fastest.
Yeah, so drifting is a demonstration of car control, right? It's not about how fast you went around the track. It's not timed. It's not an actual race where you're trying to get in front of the other driver and cross the finish line of some sort. It's just a demonstration of car control. And there's various things on the track, such as outer zones and inner clips, that the judges would prefer the driver demonstrate that they can put their car in that outer zone, or they could just barely get by that inner clip, and these all give you higher scores. Whoever has the highest score can continue on, and they're able to judge that by doing a lead car and a chase car. That lead car is going to hit those zones and those clipping points as best as they can, looking for that 100 qualifying point score. And that chase car is just going to keep good proximity, transition when they transition, and just be fluid around the track. And as soon as they're done, they just casually drive back to the start line and switch positions. And now the lead car becomes the chase, and the chase car becomes the lead. And whoever can demonstrate to the judges better line, better angle, better just fluidity with commitment, you're gonna have a winner.
Okay, something that I never understood. The lead car, when he leaves, there's a little chicane that they run through. What is the purpose of that? Just as you leave the box there, it makes you just kind of Is that to give a little bit of separation or to slow that guy down a little bit? Or
Yeah, so we built these cars over the years. 10 years ago, we didn't need those chicanes, right? But now these cars have over 1,000 horsepower, especially some of the top guys, and pro have like almost 1,500 horsepower. It just becomes a drag race now. Whoever's fastest car is just, and the chase car doesn't have a chance to put on a good show. Because once that smoke starts pouring, if you're not, if you get stuck in the cloud, you're not coming. You gotta be at a good proximity in order to stay out of the smoke line, but still put on a good show. I I hate watching drifting when the lead car is all the way here and the chase car is all the way back here. Nobody wants to see this. That's terrible. I want to see door on door. I want to see those cars transitioning and just smoke coming, like you said, coming through the cloud of smoke. Like, that's
yeah,
sick.
right into it.
A lot of people have forgotten, even at a grassroots level, even if it's not a competition, go wide. Left foot brake as much as you can. Go slow. Make sure that chase driver can get right up on you. Give him as much wide angle room so he can come in. You can cut the line if he needs to, and just pedal it through so that you put on this awesome show. Nobody wants to watch a drag race. It's crazy.
Yeah. So what? So you've been racing. You said Prospect the last 3 years. You're going into your 4th year.
Yes, that's correct.
What was your best finish? Where did you end up?
This season of 2023 was a tough one for me. So we're just gonna skip back to a more competitive year of 2022. Yeah. And in 2022, I made it to the grade 8 at St. Louis. That was a big moment for me because prior to that, I hadn't really gotten past the top 16. And at that time, I would have considered myself a top 16 driver. I mean, of course, as any driver, we strive to podium every round. But for me to not make it in the top 16 would have been abnormal. But making it in the grade 8 was something really cool. So the difference between the top 16 and the grade 8 separates a different class of driver. So it was pretty neat.
That's cool. So just little tweaks here and there, getting used to the car sort of thing is what makes a difference. And
yeah,
practice.
Currently in the top 32. Currently, I truly believe that Pro Spec is becoming a more competitive division. But I currently believe that if you just run a good line, let the other driver make a mistake, 9 out of 10 times they will. They will spin out. They will go off track. So if you only did like an 80% run, but you kept it on track and you didn't mess up, you're probably going to move on. Top 16, it gets a little bit more competitive. Now you need to turn it up more, but just be aware, keep the car in the zones and the clipping points, and you should be just fine. But the grade 8 and on, that's when horsepower comes in. That's when you're battling against someone who is umbrellaing underneath a pro driver, or maybe even running a previous pro driver's car that's got tons of work done on it that you don't even know exists. That level of competition really shines in the grade 8 and higher.
That comes down to the cars at that point, and like you say, horsepower and setup and everything else.
And also driver skill too. I mean, some of these guys, are very fortunate to be able to drive every week, or they're also driving every day on some kind of a simulator at home. Or there's just
that was going to be my next question. What do you do? Because I mean, to go out there and burn off 10 sets of tires every day for practice, the bill will get pretty heavy for that. What do you do when you're not in the car to train, or do you?
So, technology's never been my strong suit. I haven't played a video game since like Tony Hawk Pro Skater or Need for Speed Underground. That's kind of where my video game world ended. When people ask me like, "How do you do this on your phone?" I'll be the first person to be like, "Dude, I don't know." So as far as that goes, one way that I was able to figure out how to get more seat time was I opened up in 2020 the first ever mobile drift experience. This is similar to a drift school, but I come to you. You do not have to come to me. So Justin Opa was very famously known for running a drift school out in Seattle, and that was really cool. But you had to go to Seattle, and for some people that just wasn't obtainable, right? Without spending a small fortune. I'm able to provide this service in 5 different states at 7 different racetracks, and this really opens up opportunity for people to be involved. Also, I do the best that I can to keep pricing down. And when I say that, I mean that we can get you in a car for a half-day session, which is about 4 hours of driving, for as low as like $600. That includes all your tires, transportation, my time, because I will be riding in the passenger seat with you the entire time as you're driving, showing you or trying to instruct you the best that I can, how to drift. So
that's pretty cool.
This drift experience that I run keeps me busy 10 to 15 weeks out of the year. It also has been a way that I've been able to self-fund or self-sponsor myself, and all proceeds go to obviously my Formula Drift car. So if for some reason I were to lose any sponsors or something like that, it's not necessarily going to take me out. I run this drift school. It's really, really cool. Everyone has a fantastic day, and this allows me to just be in the race world more often. I'm at the racetrack more often. I know they're predominantly doing the driving, but I definitely switch seats with them to show them certain things and stuff. And I think practicing in a lower level horsepower car really gives me a more competitive advantage when I go to drive my FD car.
That's pretty cool.
It is very cool.
So it's obviously not just adults coming in there. Do you have kids coming through there, like 14, 15-year-old kids coming through the race school too, or is there an age limit to it?
Certain tracks have different rules, right? Some tracks require you to have a license. Some seem to maybe look the other way, or it's not necessarily in the rule book or whatever. So we have different options for different kinds of clients. I'm surprised at how many females sign up as opposed to males. Not that males are still more, but I'm just, when another woman signs up these days, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like, I remember the first time I had a female client, I was just like, this is epic. Like, we need to like write this down in history. Like, I can't believe it. It's amazing. But then it started coming, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. So there's an army of female drifters out there. Be warned, guys, they're coming for you. But some of these younger kids that have been surfacing up lately, and this brings you back to the original question with the simulators, they have had so much time on their simulator before they come to me. And this gives them an astronomical advantage in comparison to someone who's never drifted before, because they have learned some skill sets on their own digitally that then they now can apply in real life. And when you start to feel the G's and you feel this, the steering wheel, and you feel the wind coming in from the windows being down and stuff, your body can just like click, like, yep, this is it. Now I know what to do. But adversely, if you do the opposite, so I've been drifting for a long time now, and I've sat in these simulators. Now I'm not saying maybe every simulator I've ever sat in was perfectly, calibrated or set up correctly, but the ones that I've sat in, I can't even seem to drift like the whole course. I can't even link it. Like, it's so frustrating to me how I know I can do this very easily in real life, but for some reason I step on this video game and I can't even drift a course. So I usually get pretty frustrated with simulators.
It is a different world. I know we set one up again for my kid, and he had it figured out, and I'm sitting in there. It's like, okay, like when do I yank on the brake here? And he's just laughing at me. I can't figure it out. It's I've cut my teeth screwing around in snow in the parking lots or out chasing cows in the field or whatever. So it's like, yeah, in front of a screen and sitting in a chair there, it's it's a different world. So I can't wrap my head around it either. So
Now, I believe that simulator technology is increasing, right? It's one of the other complaints I have with electronics. Everything's obsolete in 5 years. Your
yeah,
old iPhone doesn't work in 5 years from now because you can't update iTunes and all these, things and stuff I don't even know. But the point I'm getting at is simulators, I think, are becoming more affordable as some of the older models are getting passed off as hand-me-downs or, inexpensively. You can buy them used. And I think the newer technology stuff is actually becoming, something that's a little bit more realistic.
well, you see
You know,
some of them, the screens kind of wrap around you, so you've got
yeah,
like a 180-degree view and coming up, and it's like, holy shit, like,
you got these VR things like this.
or that too, yeah. Exactly.
um, yeah, so I think those are really nice. I don't have a lot of experience. I know some of my other competitors in Formula Drift have spent tens of thousands of dollars on their sims, and I would love to try them out. But then I'll probably fall in love with them, and then instead of putting that kind of money in my program, I'm like putting it into a video game. I'm just like,
Yeah,
stuff.
you need a quick change difference before you need a simulator. So,
Yeah, we'll see.
but, so yeah, talking to go back to the females in sports. So I'm finding the same thing at the racetrack that we've got here for the we got a paved oval just outside of town. And the first year we were there, I think there was one female driver, and she was in just a kid. I think Ainsley was only 12 or something like that at the time. And then the next year there was a couple more, and then last year there was a few more yet. And I've actually we've taken on a couple of younger kids on our race team here. We're helping them set up cars for next season, and two of the three new kids are females as well. They come out to the races and they checked it out and they're like, this looks like a lot of fun. How do we get involved? I'm like, well, whatever. We'll share our love for the track with you guys and see if we can help you get set up and see where it goes. If nothing else, you just create another fan anyway.
Yeah, for sure. At least I don't know in your experience, but the female students that I have at my drift experience, uh, listen and like apply the knowledge almost immediately, which is fantastic. They usually end up becoming quick learners.
Yeah. I found that from when my kids were coming through playing hockey as a prime example of that. So I coached my son's team and then I coached my daughter's team. And of course, my daughter's team, the kids were all a couple years older, but the difference between boys and girls is just night and day. The boys, they're screwing around and they're half listening to you, and they're like, well, I'll figure it out as I do it. And the girls are just knee down, eyes on you. They want to understand and they go out. They don't do it as fast, the boys, but they get the skills right. And then the speed comes along and the boys go out and they do it at 110 miles an hour and they're screwing it up. But,
Yep.
Eventually the skills come along and then they settle in. And at the end of the day, they both get things done. They figure it out. But yeah, they've got two totally different paths to get there. It's interesting to watch. The girls definitely spoil you if you get one that wants to listen. They definitely spoil you. They want to do it right off the bat. But so we're coming up on an hour here. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah, man. That's what I did for 10 years. I talked for a living. That's what I got paid to do.
I guess yeah. Where's the nicest place that you've been to? I'm assuming you get some layovers and stuff. You get to go out and explore a little bit. Where's the best place? That's you said United Airlines or Southern Airlines?
Southwest Airlines.
Southwest Airlines. Where's the best place that they've taken you along the way?
So I have a great time anywhere I go. I mean, we could be, at the Sky Bar at 3 a.m. in Las Vegas, having a great time, or we could be Midland, Texas, and I'm always, I'm having a great time. But to be honest with you, in my 10-year career there, the past 7 years, I have stopped overnighting. I just do like day flights, if you will. So maybe I'll go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and I get off at 4 o'clock that same day. I just flew somewhere. I turned around and came back.
Oh,
And
that's
now
all right too.
they call that a turn. So I've been flying turns for like 7 years.
Yeah,
This has allowed me to be available to focus on my racing career.
that makes total sense, I guess, right?
Yeah,
You're not
so
gone
gone
in a way.
for a few days or something like that. I come back and I have endless emails from sponsors, or they need to know this information about the car so they can make this part, and I'm not there to give the measurements. Or, I mean, there's just all these things. It's just much easier for me to be home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, um, it was great chatting with you. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on.
absolutely. And I would
Um,
actually do this a little bit in the beginning, but for those who are watching who might not know who you are, who is Jeremy with RTR? Where tell yourself off a little bit here.
so so I so RTR stands for Roundtable Racing,
Okay.
and it's a little bit of a story how we came up with that one. So the original car that we had bought for Lucas, that's my son, was an old dirt car is what it was. We went down to Calgary. So we're in Alberta, just south of Edmonton. We ran down to Calgary. It was probably 3 years ago, right about now. We ran down there, picked up this car in the middle of the night, and hauled it home. Painted it, did a little bit of suspension work on it, and messed around there. And 3 races into the season, he put a fist-sized hole in the block. So kicked the
Okay.
rod, punched a hole in the block, caught on fire. So we drug it off the track and ended up renting a car that was at the track,
Okay.
and ended up buying it after that weekend and brought it home, and then spent the next week in the shop until like midnight almost every night. For as a 13-year-old kid, he's out there working with me trying to get this thing set up for the next weekend. And he says to me, he goes, man, I really wish we could name this car so it was like a Mark III or Mark II, like MK. And I'm like, well, why don't we just name it like Midnight Oil, but spelled night with a K? He's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And then, a few weeks later, I'm like, well, why don't we run with like night as in like Knights of the Round Table? We call ourselves Round Table Racing. And his eyes had kind of lit up. He's like, I really like that one, Dad. So
Okay.
that's where the name come from. So Round Table Racing, and this year, we've got, what do we have? 7 cars out. We'll have 7 cars on the track in different divisions and all the rest, and all the cars are named after different knights of the Round Table or characters of theirs. So we've got like Arthur is his car, the Excalibur will be the haul truck, and then there's Lancelot and Lady of the Lake and Queen Guinevere and all that stuff. So just kind of a little play off of that, which works well for marketing and everything else.
Yeah, that's super cool, man.
Yeah. So we're having some fun with that. And then for myself, my background, I grew up in southern Saskatchewan, like the deep south, like any farther, and we'd actually been in the US there. I think cross country, we're maybe 8 miles from the border.
Okay.
But typical small town sort of thing, same thing there, right? There wasn't really a whole lot to do. So all the guys around my age, Hot Rod Magazine, everybody had a subscription to that, and we were building all these hot rods is what it was. So tuning and just figuring things out as we went. So we would just drag race down there at home. And
Okay.
then I moved out here, and life happens and you don't have time for that kind of stuff. And then Lucas wanted to get into cars, and it's like, okay, his buddy started this, so then we jumped in along with it, and then it just like that switch flicked for him. And we spend almost every night in the race shop there working on this or tinkering with that, and he's just a sponge. He absorbs it so quickly. And to begin with, 2 years ago we took the first engine apart, and he was afraid to take one bolt out. Well, 3 months later, he's tearing an engine down by himself and bagging and tagging everything. And when his VG blew up in his
Yeah.
300Z, he phones me. I'm at work, and he's like, "Well, what do I do to this thing to figure out what's going on with it?" So, well, compression test and check this and that. And he does that. He texts me the numbers. I'm like, "Yeah, you got a bad head gasket there, bud." It's like, "Okay, well, I'll start taking things off." Shit, but 3 hours later, when I got home from work, like it's basically just a block left in the car. He had the heads off and everything torn apart on it, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And yeah, he's so deep into it already. It's pretty impressive. And then you throw him into a car at the track. First year he raced, he took the class championship and rookie of the year, so we moved him up. And same thing last year, and now this year we're throwing him into, we call them Thunder cars is what it is. So V8 rear wheel drive. We've got him an '01 Mustang that we're building for him. It's all caged up, and the engine, we're missing 2 parts for it. Otherwise we'd have had that stuffed in this past weekend. But he's pretty pumped about that. Throw him in there and let him turn the key and let her rip. So
That's so cool, man. I'm very envious that he has, the father-son camaraderie I was talking about earlier. So it's really cool you guys should be able to share that together. And he's so young, and obviously you guys have a long thing ahead of you.
yeah. And we've got a couple guys at the track here helping us trying to get set up for sponsor, find some other sponsors and that kind of stuff. Because as we both know, it's pay to play. So, the easier time you have buying tires and parts and stuff, the more competitive you can be. So we'll see what comes out of it. Otherwise, we'll do with what we've got and rock and roll from there. So,
well, I'm team working with Alex Lichliter. He's a sponsorship summit person. He educates people on how to get sponsorships. I met him at PRI this year, and he gave a class, just like a quick summary of like how to get sponsors, and also another one on how to use social media to gain value for your sponsors.
oh, cool.
Topics are really cool. So I got to really spend a little bit of one-on-one time with him, and he's going to be doing a drift-specific seminar on sponsorships. So if that interests you, we can talk about that outside. But I can't wait to be a part of that. I'm going to be one of the speakers on the show. So.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, definitely. I mean, drifting, well, up here, when we only do it, whatever, 6 months, 7 months out of the year because there's so much cold and snow and everything. But yeah, that's definitely something that we want to get a little deeper into this year now that we've kind of half got the car figured out and, go up and play. And we can do that along with circle track racing at the same time. They run at different days. So,
yeah. And do you have any plans of coming into the States and attending any of the Formula Drift rounds? Is there any place I'm going to see you guys?
Oh, I would love to come down there. We'll have to definitely put that on the radar. See when you guys run. There's a few weekends that we don't race, so may have to jump on a bird and rip down there and check it out.
What's the closest FD track? Do you know?
I wouldn't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up and see. I mean, like would there be anything in like Seattle or no? You guys don't come that far north, do you?
We do. Yeah, I'll be there in August. Yeah.
Oh, August actually might work out. I'll have to check and see when it is, because there's for sure one weekend that we don't race in August. May have to fly down there before school kicks off and spend the weekend down there, check it out.
A lot of the Canadians come over from the border and come down to the Seattle one. That's like definitely a big popular one for that. It's also an opportunity for me to tell them about my title sponsors, Nonstop Tuning. They ship globally for free. I know that's
for free yet.
In Canada with I guess some immigration and extra fees and stuff, but all that stuff is absorbed. You don't have to pay any of it.
Really?
Yeah, so it's always a hit to meet some Northerners up there to let them know that they like lose their mind and buy everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, that's half the battle is getting it across the border, right? You get dinged on import and all the rest of that stuff.
Right. So, well, cool. I hope I get to see you in person. That'd be really, really cool later this year. But we'll keep in touch and
yeah, for sure.
Know about some of these other things. And I appreciate you for having me on the cast here. This is great.
Yeah, very much appreciate you coming on and spending your evening with us here, and we'll look forward to getting down there and checking you out on the track.
All right, yeah, sounds good. All right, thanks, Jeremy.
All right, thank you.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.